Hello, I'm Carolyn Kinane, and I am Associate Director at the Contemplative Sciences Center at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia, USA. And this is part of a series of brief videos on contemplative course design. If you have not yet already watched the contemplative pause and the contemplative pause in course design, you may want to take a little bit of time to do that before moving on to this next one, the contemplative pause in teaching and learning moments. So we've outlined these steps in previous videos. So when something troubling or difficult happens in class, in a moment, something that could happen between that stimulus and your response is this contemplative pause, is where I notice myself in the moment. Something just happened. I feel heat in my ears, sweaty palms. There's a knot in my chest. My mind is racing. And then inquiry. I check in and drop in with my intention. Justice, kindness, bravery, whatever my intention is for handling difficult encounters. Next is presence. Look again at the situation. For me, it's looking again at the situation without my fear or my ego making my mind race and making my palms sweat. Look again at the situation without myself at the center of that narrative. The next step is discernment. This is the informed evaluation. What might I like to do now in this situation? The action, the response, which is a response rather than a reaction. And then again, after the contemplative pause, I reflect. So taking this pause may be a bit easier when I'm working asynchronously. My colleague at the Center for Teaching Excellence here at the University of Virginia, Courtney McEnery, has a brief video where she demonstrates how an instructor could respond to a challenging teaching moment on a discussion board where feminism and Jane Austen are being discussed. One student's posting shuts down conversation and things get tense. So Courtney walks folks through a few options for how to behave. She could avoid it all, not respond at all, denial. She could punt, shutting down the conversation, saying, we're going to address this topic in class, but never addressing the microaggression or the difficulty between the students. And what Courtney recommends is taking a step back, reaching out to a colleague to get perspective. Hey, here's what I see, or here's what happened. Tell me what you see. Checking in with her values and then responding from a place of integrity and care. So if you're working in asynchronous environments, taking this contemplative pause might be, you might have more opportunity to do that rather than face-to-face, in the moment kinds of difficult moments. So, but with practice, as I said in the previous video, the contemplative pause can take less time so that I can come into awareness, inquiry, and presence, practice discernment before leaping to reactivity in a little bit quicker turnaround. So I'd also like to briefly mention this framework in the context of grading. How often do you bring awareness to how you're doing and what you're bringing to the situation? I love using pre-grading as a great moment to check in with myself. What's my attitude? Where am I at in this moment? Am I hungry, achy? Am I in a rush? This is a great opportunity to pause and see what is called for in the moment. And it helps me to think not so much of the quantity of time that it will take for me to grade in a contemplative manner, but rather the quality of the time that I give to my grading. Grading for an hour while I am multitasking, fighting hunger, and feeling frantic is very different from bringing my awareness and presence to grading for an hour. So as I've mentioned a few times, practicing taking a contemplative pause in non-intense moments makes taking them in intense moments easier and more habitual. And so one practice that I use myself is Mindful Clock. It's a mindfulness bell that I downloaded to my desktop that goes off every hour. You can set it for a different quantity of time. This is a pretty ancient application. So those of you who are digitally savvy might find the font and the format of this particular app adorable. Okay. So I use this mindfulness bell on my computer where it goes off every hour, and no matter what I'm doing, I step away, I take some deep breaths, I stretch and check in with how I'm doing and where I'm at. because if I wait, if I'm grading or working away on the computer and I wait until there's a convenient time for a break, I find myself hours later just completely turned into a gargoyle, and I'm down this rabbit hole of not really aligned work. So that's one practice that I use. Also, if you are perhaps in the process of moving your face-to-face classes online, I would invite you to take this opportunity to engage in an awareness practice. So you can stop this video right now if you don't want to engage in a brief practice, but if you'd like to take just a couple of minutes to engage in this, I invite you to stay with me. So I'd invite you to check in with your relationship to technology, to your computer, and to notice, do I have trust in my computer? Do I have discomfort and my workstation in my area? That relationship will impact the kind of work that you do with your computer. So this quotation is from 2007. It still holds true today in my experience, perhaps in yours. So increasingly, computers are being viewed as social actors, that is, objects with whom we have a direct relationship and that influence the way we work, think, or feel. People may trust their computer or feel antagonistic towards their computer. The nature of this relationship directly affects the teacher and or student's ability to work with technology as a learning tool. It's very difficult to ask someone to work with an individual or a computer who they feel is unethical, untrustworthy, or unreliable. A central aspect of teaching online is to draw attention to this relationship. The first question we must ask ourselves should be related to our own relationship to technology. What's my thinking regarding online education? What is my relationship with technology? Do I approach technology with the same mindful inquiry that I might approach different forms of otherness? Am I open and receptive to this relationship, or am I closed? So I invite you to take just a moment and pause and reflect. You can pause this video and take a few moments to write, how do you feel about your computer? What's that relationship like? What are some assumptions you have about working online? And what biases might you hold about teaching and learning online? You might even like to think generally, how are you feeling about this work ahead of you? Are you curious, nervous, resentful? What are you bringing into this situation? So you can hit pause and do a bit of writing. So the small exercise is a way to bring awareness to something that is often neglected and will definitely impact the teaching and learning experience. If I don't like being on my computer and I sit down to grade a discussion board, I'm going to want to get it done quickly. And my resistance to the computer will become resistance to and impatience with the student's work. And additionally, this exercise is a chance to bring integrity to teaching and learning. What do I want students to be like? I should strive to be that way too. So if I have some resistance or fear, it's helpful for me to ask myself, what kinds of attitudes and dispositions do I want students to have as they're learning or trying something new in my class? How can I then embody that which I wish for my students? So moving from awareness to inquiry, I next invite you to reflect, what disposition, attitude, or way of being would you like to tap into as you take on this work that you have ahead of you? The work needs to be done. How do you want to be with it? Again, thanks for your time. The next video briefly discusses some activities for students to help cultivate the contemplative pause. Thanks so much, and as always, I welcome all of your feedback.